even as we began the conversation on identity, this calls us to just think of that having identity in God. And this verse says that let us make man in our own image and likeness. What does that look into you, or how do you see this verse?
Let us make man in our own image and likeness. It makes me understand that I'm likened with God. I'm likened with Christ. That means whatever I do, how I look, whatever I represent is God-like. And my identity, I get it from God, because He said, let us make man in our own image. So we are co-creators with God. So that means I'm innovative, I'm creative, I can sustain life. That's why we give birth to children, we procreate, we invent things, our source comes from God. Yeah, that's what comes in mind when I think about let us make man in our own image.
I think for me, it speaks volume by the thought that I just look like God. It is just mind-blowing. I know it is very difficult for a lot of people to just get this and fathom this, because sometimes unaona msee kwa kona msana kaka God. And then it dawns on you, each and every person, each and every one of us, we are created in God's image and likeness. If we are created in God's image and likeness, this makes me just start thinking, why is it that some of us usually have identity crisis and all that things that are happening around the world? Where did we get wrong, or where did we get it wrong?
One of the things that we need to understand is the devil is a clone. He just comes to give us something close to the original. So he deceives us. He makes us feel as if we are not the original product. We are trying to be the original product. That's why we are striving to be what we are not. That's why we are trying to be who we are not. The same experiences we get even with the music industry. Every time one gospel hit comes, 7, 8 secular hit comes, because the devil is trying to make us feel as if this is what we should strive to achieve, rather than what we are created to achieve. So it makes us feel this is more interesting, this is more suitable, this is what. That's why most of us, we're in that space, we are trying to identify ourselves. If you don't know your identity comes from God, you will end up thinking there are some things that shape my identity. And one of the things that we feel shapes our identity is our upbringing. My father was poor, my grandfather was poor, and I feel I'm poor. And he became poor so that we can be rich. And we don't want to identify ourselves with wealth or richness. Our father, Abraham, owned a lot of things. So we don't want to identify with the right person, and that's why we feel there's some standard that has been put in this world, and we feel this is what we should draw identity from instead of drawing it from God. I don't know how you view it.
Yeah, I think I just said it correctly, because every time or every season or every moment that we peg our identity on different people. Let's say, for example, a certain artist comes up and he is renowned, or he is fluent in his or her artistry. We try to identify ourselves with this person. Let's say, for example, he's a Kenyan artist. We say, oh, and he gets hit, and we try now to say, this he's Kenyan, and I'm not Kenyan, and all that. Yeah. So most of the time we find ourselves identifying ourselves with those people who are renowned. They might not be Kenyans, they might not be even from our community, but because this guy is a celebrity, or because this person is known all over the world or all over our community, we peg our identity on those people. And sometimes we find young people growing up, I want to be like this and this and this and this person, and forgetting that the truth is we should always strive to be like the person who called us, should be like himself, or the person who created us to be like himself, because he says that let us make man in our own image and likeness. In that whenever we look ourselves in the mirror, we should be saying to ourselves that we are reflecting God, and we are reflecting God, and whenever we walk around, we should say to ourselves, we are like God. The problem came when the problem came when we sinned, when man sinned.
Eve was told, if you do this, you will be like, you'll be like God. You will know good and bad. That means inside us there is that urge to have that identity, to have that identity, to be like God, to go back to the initial plan that God had. Let's make man in our own image. We all want to have that image and likeness, but the problem is the image that is inside our head is corrupted with our sinful nature. Like we want to, God holds cattle on hills, and we want wealth, we want riches, but we don't want to have it in the right manner. We want to use a backdoor. We want to be corrupt. We want to be like God, but the problem is the image that we want, and the thing that is inside us, the image that we have and the image that we want to be are two different things. The image we want, the image we have in our head is the right thing, but whatever is inside us, the image that we have is corrupted. It's the one that will tell you to do the wrong thing to achieve whatever you want. And most of the time we have that identity crisis, that we want to identify ourselves with the right thing and stand for the right thing, but we don't want to do the right thing. Most of the time is, I think one of the things that over a period of time people have suffered with are appearances. As young people, we want to look serious, but we don't want to dress serious. So they need to understand that we are serious people. We talk serious, we behave in a serious way, but we don't want to look. So whatever we want, the image we want people to get from us is different from whatever is inside us, because we want to achieve this, but we are like, we'll tone down our dress code, we'll tone down how we communicate and everything, but we still want to look serious and to be viewed as serious people. And sometimes it becomes an issue because we are like, you guys are not taking me serious, because I'm a serious guy. But you guys, I don't know if it has happened to you, or what's your take about that?
I think for me what happened is I used to say I want people to see me serious, but the way I dressed, it was totally different. Like I love putting on t-shirts, I love putting on flip-flop, And that is how I will show up in a meeting.
In a serious meeting.
In a very serious
In a serious way. You are seriously showing up in a serious meeting. Dressing down seriously.
Seriously. You can say that. But I think even after we have fallen, God always is in that way, He is always just calling us back to Himself. Let's say, and I can read it for us in Isaiah chapter 43, verse 1. From verse 1, it says that, "But now, thus says the Lord, He who created you, O Jacob, He who formed you, O Israel, fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine." You see how serious God is by just calling us to Himself, but yet we just run towards those things that doesn't really matter. We always run to identify ourselves with the things that doesn't really matter.
Wow. And constantly God is seeking us, like seeking after us. Imagine in that sinful state, God had to bring somebody that we can identify with. Jesus Christ, He came, lived like a human being, so that we can see an image and follow it. Like see Christ, how He lived, how He related, then follow that. Because if we are talking about a God, we are like, okay, He's a superior being, something that we can't relate with. But now He brought us that person that we can look to and see this the perfect image. It's what we need to identify with. He healed, we can heal. He loved on people who are rejected in the society. Imagine Him calling this tax collector and telling him, "I'll be visiting your house, by the way." The person that was least and hated by everyone, and now Christ is telling him, "I'll be dining with you," because He needs him to understand that, by the way, despite you're still my product, you're still my son, you're still I still identify with you. Despite people not seeing my identity in you, I still see it. And God is like, He's calling us daily. He's telling us, I still identify with you, despite uko na shisha kwa mkono sahi. There was a time I was talking to another person, and there was this guy who was seriously drunk. And we were talking together, and the guy approached us, and for one reason he just told that pastor, I need to get saved. And the funny part is that pastor's trying to explain to this guy, and it was an interesting explanation. I was laughing while he was explaining, because he was telling this guy, Christ is the one who is inside you, and now this alcohol is outside, and all I'm saying is alcohol is inside this person. This person, how can you tell this person alcohol is outside? But what Percy is saying, despite you looking different, like your identity is in Christ. Christ sees you and is telling you, you're my child. You're not who they think you are. So for me, I get that joy and that happiness that, wow, Christ identifies Himself with me. And that's where I get my identity. He lived a righteous life. I can live a righteous life.